Hi everybody, we finally made it. We're finally here.
Oh yeah.
I actually finished the Lexus LFA. Here she is, isn't she gorgeous? We're going to reveal that for you in a few minutes here, but first, let me start by apologizing. I think we started this back in like June or July of 2011, and it's taken over a year and a half to get to this point. So for that, you have my apologies. Now, I'm sure I haven't been keeping anybody up at nights waiting for the next installment of Scott Builds His LFA, but it shouldn't have ended up this way. Now, I do have some excuses ready. Well, I'm a busy guy. We all know that. Okay.
He's the boss.
That's the handy
He's
excuse.
the boss,
Yeah, that's the handy excuse.
Running a big business.
But I did learn two important things.
What's that?
About this. First of all, always build something you want to build.
Good point.
Put another way, if you recall, a year and a half ago, we had sort of a poll, viewer poll. Right. What do you want to see Scott build? And we pulled out 4 candidates. And so basically, I let you pick what I was going to build. Not going to happen again. So,
well, there were ostensibly 4 things that you had an interest in at the time, though, right?
Ostensibly being the key word there, Brian. You know, at the time the LFA had just come out as the hot new kit. But let's be frank here. I'm more of a German car kind of guy.
There you are.
He is.
I am. He's a German car guy.
The other thing that you need to do before you decide to work on a kit is like actually open the box and see how many parts it has, because this LFA is an amazing kit. It's got about the same level of detail as, say, a 1/12 scale car kit does, but it's down in 1/24 scale. So it took a long time just because of all the detail that this thing has.
A high part scale.
So yeah, I'm busy, but the 2 things to learn is build something you really want to build. You know, unless you're a professional modeler who's doing things for hire, and how many of those people are there actually in the world, right?
Not many.
Not many, no. And make sure this is a project that you want to undertake. So those conspired against me, but it is done. So let's see. Let's take a look here at the steps leading up to the final assembly of the car, and then we'll do the big reveal for you. Now that we have the interior, suspension, and drivetrain done, all that remains is the outer body part, and step 1 is to paint it. To keep things easy, I'm using Tamiya's spray paints. I've said a lot of this before, but it bears repeating. Make sure you shake your spray paint well, keep your hand moving quickly, and whatever you do when spraying, don't overspray. It's always better to let things dry and come back later for a second coat than to try and fix the runs and drips you'll get when you apply too much paint all at once. Once you've let things dry thoroughly, turn the parts over and do the other side. Once this is dry, inspect everything well and paint again any areas that you might have missed the first time around. Once the body's painted, it's time to move on to all the little bits that need to be attached. For small parts, like these turn signals, it's easiest if you paint them while they're still on the runner. For parts like these, their position makes it child's play to use your fingers to cement them wherever they need to go, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. For even smaller, more delicate parts, like these metal stickers for the rearview mirrors, you're definitely going to want to use a good pair of modeling tweezers. This way, your fingers won't ruin the adhesive, and you'll be able to position the part much more easily. Just don't forget to wipe off the fingerprints when you're finished. It's very important to test fit parts before you try to cement them into place. Here, I'm getting ready to install one of the headlight assemblies into the nose of the car. It's an especially sensitive area because you certainly don't want to get excess cement on the clear headlight cover or on the car's visible body surfaces. When I was test fitting, I found that the shape of the car's nose prevented me from reaching the final position of the part if I was holding it with my fingers. Likewise, if I just grabbed the part with tweezers in a conventional way, I was unable to precisely lay the part down into its final position. Fortunately, since this was a test fit, there's no cement in place to mess up. After playing around a bit, I found a ridge on the part that, when held like this from above, allowed me to precisely position the part into its final position. So you can see how a rehearsal is really important. After detail parts, it's time to finish up by polishing the body. Some areas, like this door here, came out nice and glossy, but for some reason, other parts of the car, such as the nose, had a much more dull appearance after spray painting. But fortunately, this is easy to fix. With a little bit of compound and some light rubbing, we can create a great finish, like what I've already done on the hood part. Of course, there are other brands too, but Tamiya makes a great lineup of polishing compounds in 3 grits: coarse, fine, and finish. Those, in a nice soft, clean cloth, are all you'll need to get started. Since the finish of the car is not that bad to begin with, I'm going to skip the coarse compound and start with the fine. Just apply a little dab to the area that you're going to work on, and then rub it gently with a soft cloth. Nothing could be easier. When you're working with the coarse compound, however, be careful. With too much rubbing, you can completely take off the paint finish. You can see how much better it looks already with just a few seconds of buffing. Follow that up with a round of buffing with the finish compound, and you should have a beautiful dark sheen. If you have a Dremel or similar motor tool and you're a bit on the lazy side, here's a little tip. Cut a cotton swab in half and use it as a polishing bit for your motor tool. Just dab a bit of compound onto the area that you're going to work on and lightly buff it with the tool. Again, don't push too hard. Light pressure on the surface is plenty. Basically, what you're doing here is exactly the same thing you'd do to fix the finish on a real car, just on a tiny scale. When you're completely finished, wipe things down gently with a slightly moistened cloth or tissue to make sure the excess compound is gone. There is a disadvantage to using compound, however, and that is that the compound can get itself into the panel lines and recessed areas of your model, and it will need to be removed. For this, toothpicks are your friend. Just gently run the toothpicks up and down the panel lines, or use them to lift out excess compound that your damp cloth may have missed. For particularly narrow areas, you can use your hobby knife to trim down the tip of the toothpick to an even finer point, allowing more precision. If you want the best finish possible, try one of the polymer coating products that are marketed for models. This one comes with its own polishing cloth and is from Hasegawa. Some people also report good results with floor wax products, but I've never used one of those myself. Just rub the coating on the model in the same way that you'd use compound. After this coating, however, you won't need to wipe things down with a damp cloth. The coating will dry quickly, but watch out for fingerprints. But if you do get any, they're easy to remove with another quick pass with the coating. When you're done, you're probably going to be very happy with the results. Now all you need to do is attach rearview mirrors, antennas, and other fragile bits, snap the body into position, and proudly display your new creation. And there you have it. So after that step, all you do at that point is you take the body shell that's completed, you put it over the interior parts, and before you do that, you have the whole suspension and drivetrain assembly. That goes into the bottom of the interior parts. So you have the interior section, and you got suspension and drivetrain come up from the bottom, body shell comes down from the top. And then you're done.
Now, does that all glue together, or is it a snap fit kind of thing?
The body shell just snaps into position.
In there?
But it's not an easy remove. No, it's pretty convoluted.
Hey, check this out, pop it off kind of thing.
No, it's not. And that's why they came out with the clear
one.
The clear version.
Right, there's a clear version of this too.
So, without further ado, shall we take a look?
Let's have a look. Let me move this out.
The big reveal. Ta-da. There she blows.
There she is, yes.
You can have your hanky back now.
Oh, thank you very much. In sinister gloss black.
Yeah, I went with black. Just something about the colors they were showing on the box. They had silver, white, yellow, red. There's a whole bunch of colors. I guess the instructions point out that the LFA can actually be ordered in just about any color that the guy who is the lucky guy who gets to own it wants. But I just went with black. I thought black would be nice and chic and cool, and so we went with black. So yeah, it looks okay. Now I do have to come clean on a couple of things, because some people, I guess, maybe they think that I'm like a way better modeler than I am.
He's a pretty good modeler.
I run a mail order company, and I've always been a modeler, but I'm not the kind of guy who goes to Euro Militaire and gets golds or anything like that. But I can make a model that I'm not embarrassed to put in public display.
This is a fine
so this
example right here.
there could be some really great car modelers out there who are looking at this and laughing already through their coffee or whatever it is that they're having. That's okay, because I'm just here for the rest of us, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
But yeah, this is actually only the second car model I've completed in my life. I did a Mercedes SLK several years ago, and this is my second one. And I have to tell you, car modeling compared to like your favorite tanks modeling can be a very stressful thing.
Yes, because it needs to be perfect.
It needs to be perfect.
Clean and shiny, but not toy-like. So
yeah, exactly. When it comes to like tanks, especially, it's like knock parts off, drill holes in the side, whatever. It's battle damage. You know, it all makes it even look better in some cases.
Scratch it up.
But with a car, the paint job's got to be perfect. Particularly if you're doing a racing, livery, it's got to be all the decals got to be laying down exactly right. So car modeling can actually be a pretty stressful type of modeling if you haven't done it before. So if you're just getting into modeling, you're not sure how to handle brushes, or you're not comfortable with decals yet, I can't really recommend car modeling. I would go with like a little Sherman or a Tiger 1 or something for starters.
Right. People will argue, but yeah, tanks are probably easier.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to be so precise with the finishes. You can, if you make a mistake, again, as we said, you can cover it up with mud or whatever.
Aircraft are probably somewhere in between, because if you want to make it, you can make sort of a muddied up aircraft, but you still usually have lots of decals, and those can be time consuming.
Of course, with cars, you could go World Rally Champion, and
Yeah, that's decal city too.
Yeah,
well, that's true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You
Okay,
can
it could be like
an
during competition WRC car can be pretty scrungy, to be sure.
Or a NASCAR after the race version. Those
Right.
Those are pretty crunched up, but yeah. But
Anyhow,
nice showroom finished cars.
Let me show off a couple of quick features of this kit.
What do you got?
Like I said, it's the detail of this thing is just unbelievable. In fact, I actually had a conversation recently with Mr. Tamiya himself, Mr. Shunsaku Tamiya, and I mentioned that I was building the LFA. And he looks at me and I said it has a lot of great detail. And he looked at me and goes, "Arewa yarisugitan da yo," which means they went overboard on that. They went too far on that. So he actually thought that they had done too much detail. That probably translated into, I'm thinking, cost and
probably
toolings.
We spent too much on it
as the manager. But lately Tamiya's got a thing, for example, with magnets.
Yeah.
They like to put these little magnets in so that you can take parts on and off. For example, the rear spoiler here, which I've got shown deployed, you can just lift this right off. Boop, just comes off. And there's 3 little plates here, and then there's 3 little magnets in the base of the car. And you can replace that with another part, which I don't have handy, which simulates the car when the spoiler is not deployed. So you can go either way. But hey, it's a sports car. We want that deployed,
right? Quick change feature there.
Yep. And similarly, the hood. Now, the hood itself does not go into place with magnets. But check this out. On the inside of the hood, if we can get it to go up properly here, on the inside of the hood, boop, boop, take 2. Okay, we'll get there. Here we go. It just comes right off. Okay. On the inside of the hood, you can see there's a little bar here, and this is the little bar part that you use to prop up the hood if you want to display it showing off the engine detail. And this little bar connects with magnets to the inside of the hood here. Now that's really cool, and it sounds really cool when you read about it on the box. Have you ever tried to work with one of these itsy bitsy little magnets before?
They're probably pretty frisky.
They are. The problem is that they're way too small to be grabbed with human fingers. Ain't going to happen. Right. So you got to bring out your tweezers, which are made of metal.
Usually.
Yes, magnets stick to the metal. So you try to pick up the magnet, and it leaps onto the tip of your tweezers. So it makes it really easy to bring it into position, but not really easy to get it off the tweezers and onto the car. In fact, these little guys are so powerful that I found that they were out pulling the CA glue that I was trying to glue them down with as I pulled the tweezers away. So eventually I had to find a non-metallic way, involving toothpicks, to sort of chopstick the part into position on the model. And that was a little trying until I got the technique down.
So the magnet is more powerful than the super glue.
Yeah, at least the not quite set yet super glue. But boy, the detail on the engine compartment here is just, I mean, everything is there. Literally every structure, every system, every component that is on the actual LFA is represented in 1/24th scale underneath the hood of this car. And even on the underside here, which I spent lots of hours on and then covered up most of it, all of the suspension detail, exhaust detail, everything is there. I mean, everything. And when I was at Tamiya's offices about 7 or 8 months ago, It's no longer there, unfortunately. But when I was in their first floor showroom, which is right where you walk in when you first go to Tamiya's headquarters, they had an actual LFA sitting there with its entire body panel removed. So you could see all of the internal structure. So obviously they had a very good reference when they were putting this kit together.
Yes. And hence the product that we see now. Wow.
So yeah, a lot of this detail is completely concealed once you get the kit together, or good chunks of it are. But I'll tell you, when you build a kit like this, you really learn how one of these machines is put together.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. You know, when you build a model, whatever the subject is, you generally learn something about the actual subject itself.
Yep.
What did you learn about the LFA itself?
What did I learn about the LFA? Well, I'm not a supercar engineer or anything, but I found that a lot of the structures, particularly like in the suspension area and the basic engine design, were very similar to what I've seen on other cars of its type. Right. So I mean, it's a whole new design that Lexus engineers came up with. Right. But at the same time, obviously, it's based on decades of auto engineering, and I didn't see anything in there. It's like, what in the world is this? I could pretty much tell these were the suspension arms and stuff like that.
There's no flux capacitor or anything.
No flux capacitor, no. Yeah. But yeah, it's actually, the suspension looks very similar to what you see on F1 cars, except it's just covered up and stuff like that. So yeah, it was interesting to see, because it is like you said, it's a whole study in the engineering of the vehicle, and you don't get that with just a curbside kit, where you just have limited parts covering just the areas that are visible. So yeah, if you want to learn about cars, great way to learn about how sports cars are put together. Yeah.
Wow. And again, as we mentioned before, that's why there was the clear-bodied version also released. Right. Because you do all that work, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to put the body on it. With the clear one, you can show that off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I worked on it, this does come off, but you have to kind of literally bend the body part a bit, and there's two big pegs that it goes over, and when you want to keep a nice shiny finish like this, you're going to get fingerprints all over it when you're trying to do it. So I don't think this body part's ever coming back
parts
off.
pop on off, and so get it on there and just be happy.
So yeah, we'll put some better pictures of it up on our blog, so that you can see more of the detail there. Although I don't want to show off too much of it, but I'll tell you one little. I really shouldn't say this, give away all my secrets, but one reason to paint cars black, Sharpies. I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it at that. Sharpies. I'll just leave it there. Yeah. That would be a black felt pen for those of you who aren't in a market that has the Sharpie available.
Well, one thing I did want to mention about the finish is you did a good job using the polishing compounds. And what I liked was you chucked a Q-tip into a power tool.
Yeah, cotton swab. It seemed like the obvious thing to do. Yeah. I had actually done it before for another purpose, but it just so happens that most cotton swabs have a shaft between the cotton swabs that's exactly the right size for the chuck on a motor tool or a Dremel. And it actually worked really, really well.
And I was thinking that even the head of the cotton swab was about a 1/24 scale size polishing cloth that you would use on a real machine there. So if you wanted to be really cool, you could kind of grain it up, and you would even get the scale swirls.
Yep. Well, the principles involved in polishing up a body like this, and I mentioned it in the video, are exactly like what you do on a real car.
Right.
I mean, if you need to putty, and then paint, buff, compound, it's exactly the same principles, just on a mini scale. Right. So even if you've never done a car model, if you've done a car, well, you pretty much know what to do. You're just going to have to
wax off.
Yeah. Kind of get different stuff.
It turned out very nice. Very nice. Shiny is good.
So yeah, so we'll put some photos up in the blog, and also, this was a long procedure, and I think I did a total of 5 videos, counting this one, showing off some of the techniques that you would want to learn if you're going to be putting together a scale model. Again, if this is going to be your first major scale model, I don't know if a car kit this complicated would be a good recommendation. You might want to try something with a little bit fewer parts and a little bit bigger parts to start with. But a lot of those other techniques that I think I showed off could be pretty useful for a lot of people who are just getting started in modeling. So we'll put the links to the other episodes of the Boss Builds LFA series in the notes to this show as well, so that you can take a look there if you haven't already.
Good stuff.
So what do you got on your workbench?
I'm still plugging along with the Hulk.
The Hulk.
The 1/9 scale Dragon vinyl kit of the Hulk. Got the... still doing some highlight painting on the Hulk green, and hopefully we'll have him done in the next couple of weeks.
Cool. I'm definitely taking a break from the traditional scale. I'm working on a Gundam Tallgeese right now with Sid on Gunpla TV, and it's so stress-free compared to this. It's frankly quite refreshing. And I've always kind of been a Gundam fan from way back. I haven't watched many of the newer shows, but back from the shows in the 80s and early 90s, I watched a lot of it. and the new Gundam, new as in the
Right.
Greek letter, the new Gundam, which just came out in the version Katoki. Oh, that thing is just gorgeous to my eye, and I'm definitely going to build it. I don't know if I'm going to shoot video for anybody, but yeah, but I'm just going to have a lot of fun putting that together.
Show it off when you're done.
And then I think I'll go back into something that requires glue, but I haven't decided what to do yet. But that's half the fun of modeling.
I need to try
figuring out
Gundam one of these days.
You do.
Yeah.
In fact,
never built a Gundam.
if you guys have never done a Gundam kit, it doesn't matter if you've never seen the show. Just pick up one of those designs that you think kind of looks cool, and be amazed at some of the remarkable engineering that Bandai has done.
Well, Sid says that's exactly how he got into it. He just saw the models and thought the designs were cool, and now here he is.
Yeah. You don't have to know the name of the character who wrote it or anything like that. If you just think the design is cool and you want a neat, sort of decoration for your desk at the office or your monitor or whatever it is, it's basically a neat posable action figure that you can build yourself. And some of the engineering of the parts and the gimmicks in there are completely different from what you see in traditional scale models.
Right.
And there's a lot of oohs and ahs as you realize all the thought that the Bandai engineers had to do to make these things work. But yeah, it's definitely worth an experience anyway.
It is.
So that's pretty much it. Whatever you got on your workbench, I promise that my next project won't take 18 months again. I haven't decided what to do yet, but that's half the fun of modeling.
It is.
And don't forget to take a look at our Facebook page. We'll have some cool shots of this coming up there. Also in our blog at hobbylink.tv. And of course, this video, you've already found it probably on YouTube. We got a great channel going on YouTube, and we hope you'll subscribe to those videos for us too. So whatever the next project is, we'll definitely see you then. Happy modeling.